reaching out to the country. We intend to now take basketball away from the one center that we've been playing and played in different places, as evidently seen in one of our first matches where league games were played in the barn. Most important, however, is that the league itself is a very solid one, and that's attracting high levels of competition. And that comes with certain perceptions and certain expectations. In 2019, marked the election of a new executive into the SNBA. And I must commend the outgoing executive for a job well done, because you know when your elections are contested, it means the interest is there from the people. So more people wanted to come and join in on this bandwagon, which is thanks to MTN and their sponsorship. And I would like to, at this moment in time, to applaud the outgoing executive. An applause, please. Minister, this year we elected a new executive which has a full component as constituted. I have been entrusted to going back into the position of the president, to be assisted with a new vice president, but a long-serving member of basketball community, Mr. Bongos Shabang, who is present here. We have a new Secretary General, Nomalungelo Mkhombe. We have a new Treasurer, Nomfundo Chiane. We have a new head of coaches, Penga Vuma, who is also very experienced in basketball. We have reinstated our head of competitions, Mr. Melusi Hlope. We have a new head of technical, who's refereeing and table officials, Mr. Mandi Sazwane. We have a post called Gender Equity Officer, which will be headed by Pilile Simelane. And then we have what was previously Disability Sports, but we want to try and change the name to Inclusive Sports Officer, which means now we will provide basketball, we're outreaching basketball to everybody. Madaliso Mtine is the head of our Inclusive Sports office. The league itself has mainly three categories, which is the Elite Men's League, the National Women's League, and a Men's Promotional League. Since the inception of the sponsorship, this league in all three divisions has been won by different people. That shows you the level of competitiveness we have in the sport. And not only that, it has brought the attention of a lot of international players. So we've seen a lot of clubs, a lot of teams maneuver their way around the rules and regulations to squeeze in these internationals. And we've benefited from that, because the minute we bring in international players, even our local players get to see what standard is out there. 2019 introduces something we hold dearly in our hearts, a development program. So we will host this year a National Schools Championships, and we want to make this a proper National Schools Championships, which means all the schools, all the various schools, public schools and private schools, will produce their very best, and then we will host, under the sponsorship, the National Championship, where we can say who our MTN High School Championship champions will be for 2019. Having said that, we also, like I had said earlier, want to recognize people of the media. The best person who gives us the best media coverage, that person will be recognized. We also want to exhibit or have a day where we will have a proper exhibition of wheelchair basketball. Wheelchair basketball, I know as Swazis, we have the fear of if you get on a wheelchair, then you are bound to put yourself on a wheelchair forever, but it's not the case. The interesting thing about wheelchair basketball is good for those athletes who are recovering from injuries, ankle or leg injuries. They can practice on wheelchair basketball. And all able-bodied persons can also participate in wheelchair basketball. So it's a program that we really want to strongly introduce, because it's also about inclusive basketball for all. And then the other thing is that we are not seeing as many women in basketball. So part of the sponsorship, what we've squeezed in is a day for women basketball. When we say women basketball, we expect everybody from the sponsors as well to come and participate. Your mother, your grandmother, your daughter, It'll be a day of just talking basketball, introducing ladies to basketball, and also, especially the parents, understanding where their children are going and why they are going there to be involved in basketball, and also getting to understand the rules of basketball to make it easier for them to understand at home. So through this sponsorship, what we're realizing is that basketball is increasingly becoming a very popular sport in the country. And as far as we're concerned, it ties in with the vision of His Majesty and His Majesty's government of bringing Swaziland to a first world status. And we think that as basketball, we're going to get there in 2022, as long as the sponsorship is still there. So from the brief above, we would like at this point in time to thank wholeheartedly the sponsors for the sponsorship. With this stable environment, we then, as the SMBA, have had the opportunity to look at everything else. Because once you have a solid league, then the sport is understood to be in its good standing, and people will want to be involved in it. And through this relationship with our sponsors and the solid league, we are seeing more and more international people wanting to come to Swaziland. We are seeing more and more international tournaments wanting to be hosted in the country. And most especially, as it's growing, we want to see that basketball will become the next sport in the country that is talked about, that both at home, at schools, and so on and so forth. Such that as the vision for FIBA, which wants to take over basketball in the world as the #1 sport, we will be right up there trying to make sure that basketball is the #1 sport in the country. And this is all thanks to our sponsor and the sponsorship and the solid league. We would also like to take this opportunity, Honourable Minister, to thank His Own Majesty's government for the continuous support that we get, especially from your ministry and your council, and as well as your Olympic office. They've given us the guidance to put us where we are now, and they continue to support us. And your being here just goes to show how committed government is in supporting sport. And we thank you. We would like to say thank you very much, Minister, for being here, and thank you very much to the sponsors for putting us where we are. All is life. Thank you.
Thank you, President. Ball is really live. That's the slogan for basketball.